In a world that absolutely never stops talking, have you ever just wondered what you might hear if you finally stop to listen? Today, we're diving into this lost art of solitude and silence. We're going to see how it might just be the key to finding God's presence right in the middle of all the chaos.
Hey, does this sound familiar? You finally get into bed, the house is quiet, everything's turned off, but your mind is just a freight train of to-do lists, worries, replaying conversations from the day. Or maybe you try to grab 5 minutes for yourself, but the noise inside your head is just as loud as the world outside. If that's you, you are definitely not alone.
Yeah, this feeling, this sense of a crowded heart, even when you're in an empty room, it's something so many of us feel. And the answer isn't just getting more sleep. It's about a specific spiritual practice, the discipline of solitude and silence, that our souls are just crying out for. Okay, so right off the bat, we have to get this straight, because this is so important. Solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. Not even close. In fact, they're kind of opposites. See, loneliness is the pain of being alone. But solitude is the joy of intentionally being with God. It's not about emptiness, it's about being filled. So let's really dig into the why. Why is this so hard for us? Well, to put it bluntly, we are quite literally drowning in noise. I mean, think about it. From the second our alarm goes off, we're plugging in. We fill our commutes, our workouts, even our time in the shower with this constant IV drip of podcasts, music, and news. We just never let the silence land.
And it's not just our ears, right? Our eyes are constantly glued to screens, just endlessly scrolling through this river of information. We're getting hit with notifications, headlines, the highlight reels of everyone else's life, and it just leaves us feeling totally overwhelmed.
And eventually, all that external chaos, it just seeps inside. It creates this mental fog of distraction and anxiety. Trying to hear God in all of that, it's like trying to have a really quiet, intimate conversation in the middle of a rock concert. It's almost impossible to hear that gentle whisper. This verse, it's such a beautiful invitation from God. But for so many of us, it's a really hard one to accept. We've just gotten so used to the constant motion that we've honestly forgotten how to just be still. So if this whole idea feels a little foreign or, countercultural, where do we even look for a guide? Well, we don't have to look very far. The ultimate example of someone who mastered this art of solitude was Jesus himself. And this wasn't just some rare thing for Jesus. Oh no, the Gospels are packed with stories of him intentionally getting away from the crowds, away from the pressure, just to spend time alone with the Father. It was a non-negotiable, foundational part of his rhythm of life. And that just leads to a really sobering question, doesn't it? If Jesus, who had a perfect, unbroken connection with God, if he needed to do this, how much more do we? Our lives are so much noisier, so much more distracting. This practice isn't a luxury for us, it's essential. Because this is exactly what happens when we ignore it. We're like a car trying to run with the gas light blinking. We try to serve, we try to love, we try to fight our battles, all while running on fumes. And then we wonder why we break down, why we feel so burnt out and anxious. Okay, so we know we need it, but what actually happens when we start doing this? What can we really expect? Let's talk about the incredible gifts that silence actually offers us. This is the good part. First up, your soul gets to detox. When you finally get quiet, all the stuff you've been running from, the stress, the worries, the old hurts, it's all going to start to surface. And yeah, that can be uncomfortable at first, but it's so necessary. It's in that quiet space that God can finally get to work healing our hearts. Second, and this is probably the biggest one, you start to hear God's voice so much more clearly. He often speaks in that still, small voice, that whisper that is so easily drowned out by the noise of our lives. Silence is how we create the space to finally tune our ears to his frequency. Third, you actually start to rediscover who you really are. We wear so many hats every day: employee, parent, spouse, friend. It's so easy to forget who we are at our core. Solitude peels back all those layers, and it lets us see ourselves the way God sees us, his beloved child that he's shaping and forming. Number 4, you're going to find that your spiritual appetite comes back. If you've been feeling kind of distant from God, it's not because he's moved. It's usually because our hearts have gotten cluttered. Silence is like a spiritual reset button. It clears out all that junk and reawakens our desire for him. And finally, you will start to develop this deep, quiet strength. The prophet Isaiah said it best:
In quietness and in trust is your strength. See, real spiritual power isn't found in the hustle and the grind. It's found in the stillness of a soul that's just firmly rooted in God.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? But how? How do we actually do it? The good news is you don't need a monastery or a silent retreat. Let's break down a super simple way to get started. Seriously, this is all it takes to start. Just 5 or 10 minutes. Find a quiet spot, your car, a closet, whatever works. The most important thing is to just show up. No big agenda. This isn't about asking for a bunch of stuff. It's just about being with God. Your mind is absolutely going to wander. That's normal. Just gently, without judgment, bring your focus back to Him. Remember, it's a practice, not a performance. And then, as you get more comfortable with the quiet, you can start exploring other things. Imagine the freedom of turning your phone off for a few hours for a digital Sabbath, or just sitting with one single verse of scripture and letting it sink in. These are just invitations to go even deeper. So, what's the ultimate reward for all of this? What's the end game? What kind of transformation can we actually expect in our lives? Well, that brings us to the beautiful payoff. A life that is so much deeper. I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's night and day, isn't it? On one side, you've got the life of the hurried soul, constantly reacting, anxious, spiritually shallow. But on the other side, you see the fruit of a life that's rooted in solitude. More peaceful, more emotionally stable, with deep, deep roots and a real hunger for God. Peace isn't just some fleeting moment anymore. It becomes the ground you stand on. Let me just leave you with this one last thought. Maybe that exhaustion you feel, maybe it's not because you're tired of serving God. Maybe you're just tired of rushing. Jesus offers us a kind of rest that the world can't give, a peace that goes beyond our understanding. The only question left is, when will you accept His invitation?